The 24-years-old nurse fulfilled the 85-years-old billionaire's wish before his death. Before we start, tell me the time and country you are watching from. I will be glad to know how far this story has gone. Once upon a time in the city of Abuja, there lived a young nurse named Stella Jadal. She didn't talk much. She didn't like to argue or gossip. She didn't wear loud makeup or chase attention like some of the other nurses did. But she was always the first to arrive at the hospital and the last to leave. People called her boring. Some even laughed behind her back. But Stella didn't mind. She believed that doing her job was more important than anything else. Her mother always told her, if you care for others with clean hands and a clean heart, God will reward you. So Stella carried those words like a song in her heart. She worked at Supreme Life Hospital, a tall white building in the center of Abuja, where rich and important people came when they were sick. Most of the staff tried to impress the VIP patients. But Stella was the same with everybody, from the president's cousin to the cleaner's wife. She talked gently, cleaned wounds carefully, and always made sure the old patients took their medicine on time. One evening, the clouds were heavy. The rain had started to fall, like it was angry with the earth. The wind pushed against the windows, and thunder growled in the distance. Stella had just finished checking a patient's drip when the emergency bell rang loudly through the hallway. Prepare the VIP room. Nurse Ada shouted, holding a walkie-talkie. We're getting a special case. Big one. The nurses rushed like ants. Some started spraying perfume in the hallway. Others adjusted their wigs and makeup. But Stella walked calmly to the ICU wing. Minutes later, a black SUV stopped right in front of the emergency entrance. Two men jumped out, followed by another man with dark glasses and a walkie-talkie. A stretcher was pulled out. On it lay a man with tubes in his nose and blood on his white captain. His eyes were shut. His chest rose slowly. Is that who I think it is? Nurse Funk whispered, eyes wide. Chief Alhaji Idris Bir. Another nurse said, blinking, the billionaire, the oil tycoon, the one with 6 houses in Mama. The one whose family fought in court last year. Someone added. The whole hallway froze. The doctors ran to him. The matron herself came downstairs. There were whispers, phone calls, and tension in the air. But in all the noise, the only thing clear was this. The man might not survive the night. They placed him in the special ICU suite. Doctors worked fast. Machines beeped. The matron called for extra staff. But by midnight, the hallway was silent again. Visitors were told to leave. Security guards stood by the door. Nurses took turns watching over him. By 2 a.m., most had gone to rest, but Stella was still awake. She sat quietly by the edge of the bed. She looked at the man's face. There was a long scar near his eyebrow. His beard was gray. His lips were dry. She dipped cotton in warm water and cleaned the blood near his nose. As she worked, the door opened. Matron stepped in and paused. You're still here? The matron asked. Stella nodded. He hasn't moved at all. I'm watching his vitals. The matron looked at her for a moment. You're a strange girl, Stella, she said. You don't even flinch around people like him. Do you know how powerful this man is? I just see a sick man, Stella said quietly. The matron didn't reply. She walked out again. Stella stayed. She stayed until the rain stopped. She stayed until the birds outside began to sing. She stayed until the clock ticked past 6 a.m. And then something happened. The man's fingers twitched. Stella jumped to her feet. His eyes opened slowly. They were weak and dull, but they looked straight at her. His lips moved. No sound came out. She leaned in. Do you know your name? She asked gently. He blinked once. She placed a hand on his shoulder. You're in the hospital. Supreme Life Hospital. You came in last night. You were unconscious. Can you speak? His voice was dry, cracked. Water. She brought the straw to his lips and helped him take a few sips. He coughed lightly, then whispered, Who are you? I'm Stella. I'm a nurse. I've been watching over you. He stared at her, not with fear, not with pride, but with something in between. Then he said, Don't let them near me. She blinked. Who? Anyone? Them? My people, staff, family. I don't trust them. There was a long silence. He looked away, then back at her. "You're the only one who sat with me." Stella didn't know what to say. She just nodded. Then he whispered, "I want you to stay. I'll inform the matron," she said gently. "No," he said stronger this time. "Just you, please." She looked into his tired eyes. "All right," she said softly. "I'll stay." From that moment, everything changed. The next day, his family arrived. 3 men in suits, a woman in high heels with a scarf covering her face. They demanded to see him. The matron tried to explain that he needed rest, but Al-Haji Idris refused to open his door. When they insisted, his voice was heard from inside. "If it's not Nurse Stella, I don't want to see anybody." The matron turned to her. "What did you do to him?" "I only stayed," Stella replied. From that day, Stella was the only one allowed in his room. She fed him, changed his drip, listened to him speak in broken whispers. He didn't talk much about money or business. He didn't brag. Instead, he asked her about her life, her family, why she became a nurse. "Because my mother died when I was small," Stella told him one evening. "She bled too much during childbirth. They said if someone had reached the hospital earlier, she would have lived. So I promised to help people live, even if I couldn't save her." He looked at her for a long time. Then he whispered, "You're not like them." "Like who?" she asked. "The others, the ones who smile but hide knives behind their backs." She didn't answer, but deep inside, something in her heart was beginning to stir. She didn't know what it was. Not yet. All she knew was that this man, this rich and powerful man who had the whole city at his feet, had chosen her, not for her beauty, not for her fame, but for something simpler, her presence, her silence, her heart. And on the 7th day, he said something strange. "Stella," he said slowly, his voice barely above a whisper, "do you believe in second chances?" She looked at him. "Yes, I do," he closed his eyes. "Then I need yours." The room smelled like mint and medicine. Soft beeping from the heart monitor filled the air. The morning sun pushed through the window blinds, casting thin golden lines on the tile floor. Stella sat on a small chair next to Al-Haji Idris's bed, holding a warm towel. She gently wiped his face as he lay still with tired eyes. "Do you believe in second chances?" he had asked. "Yes, I do." Stella had answered without thinking twice. Then he closed his eyes and whispered, "Then I need yours." Now, hours later, he hadn't said a word. He just stared at the ceiling like he was talking to someone no one else could see. Stella adjusted the blanket on him and stood up to check the drip. She didn't know what he meant, but something in her heart told her not to ask yet. It was like waiting for rain in dry season. It would come, but only when the sky was ready. Suddenly, he spoke again. "Do you know what it's like?" he said in a low voice. "To sleep in a house full of people and still feel alone." Stella looked at him. She wasn't sure if he was asking her or just talking to himself. He turned his head slowly and met her eyes. "You don't. You still smile like someone who has peace." Stella took a deep breath. "Sometimes I cry when I'm alone, sir. I just don't do it in front of people." A small corner of his mouth moved. Not a full smile, just a flicker. "Good," he said. "That means you still feel." "I stopped crying 30 years ago." There was a silence. Then he asked, "Stella, do you know who I am?" "Yes, sir," she replied gently. "You're Chief Al-Haji Idris Becker Oil and Gas. You own beer holdings. You're very rich. Is that all?" "That's all I've heard." He stared at her a while longer, then looked away. "Then you don't know me at all." "That's good." He reached for her hand, his fingers shaking. "Don't believe what they tell you about me. I don't listen to gossip," Stella said, placing her other hand on top of his. "Don't trust them either," he said, voice trembling slightly. "They're smiling now, but they are waiting like vultures for me to stop breathing." She stayed quiet. His grip on her hand grew tighter. "They will come," he said, pretending to care. "Some will cry, some will shout, but they all want the same thing. My name, my land, my signature. I don't want anything from you, sir." "I know," he whispered, finally letting go of her hand. "That's why you're the only one I trust." Just then, there was a soft knock on the door. Stella looked up. Nurse Ada opened the door slightly and peeped in. "Stella," she whispered. "His son is here and his lawyer. They want to see him." Stella turned to look at Al-Haji Idris. His jaw tightened. His chest moved a little faster. "Tell him I'm asleep," he said. "But sir," "Tell him I said no." Ada blinked, then looked at Stella. Matron said, "Get out." Al-Haji Idris said sharply. Ada froze for a second, then slowly closed the door. Al-Haji Idris took a deep breath. "I warned them. I said, I don't want to see anyone. I meant it." Stella stepped closer. "Maybe they care, sir." He gave a dry laugh. Care? My first son hasn't visited me in 2 years. Now, he shows up with a lawyer. What do you think he came for? Hugs. I don't know, sir, she said quietly. Exactly. You don't know, he said, his voice rising a little. But I do. I know what they are capable of. I built everything with my hands. They just want to sign papers and take it all. Stella didn't answer. She sat back down and folded her hands on her lap. Al-Haji Idris looked at her again. Do you think I'm a bad man? She looked up, surprised. No, sir. I've done things, he said slowly. Things I'm not proud of. But one thing I regret, one thing I wish I could undo. His voice trailed off. He turned his head to the window. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, hearing her voice, hearing her laugh, and then I remember. I let her go. I chose money. I chose power. And now I'm dying with all of it. But without her. Stella frowned gently. Who is she? He blinked slowly. I'll tell you soon. But first, I need to be sure. Sure of what? Sure that you're the one. The one for what, sir? But he didn't answer. He just closed his eyes and whispered, watch them. Stella, watch how they start come around now. You'll see what I mean. And he was right. That same afternoon, the door knocked again. This time, a different nurse opened it without asking. Behind her stood a tall man in a designer suit. His face was sharp. His eyes were cold. He didn't wait to be invited in. Dad, he said, stepping into the room. It's me, Malik. Al-Haji Idris turned his head, but didn't say a word. Dad, I flew in from London, the man continued. They told me you weren't doing well. I said I don't want to see anyone. Al-Haji Idris cut in. Malik forced a smile. Come on, Dad. Don't be like this. I'm not your project. Get out. Dad, please. Stella stood up. Sir, maybe you should let him speak. Stella, the old man said slowly. Please ask him to leave. Malik's face changed. He turned to Stella. Excuse me. Who even are you? Are you his nurse or his wife? Stella didn't answer. She just looked down. I'm his nurse, she said softly. Well, then act like one and leave us to talk. But Al-Haji Idris raised his hand. If she leaves, he said coldly, you leave too. Malik clenched his jaw. You're being unfair. No, Malik, he said. I'm being wise. Malik laughed bitterly and turned to leave. At the door, he paused and looked back. He's dying and he's giving his heart to a nurse. Then he walked out and slammed the door behind him. Stella sat down again. Al-Haji Idris stared at the ceiling. They think they know me, he said, but they only know what I let them see. He looked at Stella with sad eyes. You remind me of her. Who? Mary I am. Silence. Stella waited, but he didn't say more. The next day, it got worse. His second son came, then a cousin, then a politician friend, then 2 pastors, then a man who said he was a doctor from Saudi Arabia. They all came. They all asked to see him. He refused them all except Stella. Why me? She finally asked on the 3rd day. He looked at her with those tired eyes again. Because you listen. Because you care. Not because of what I have, but because I'm human. She didn't know what to say. Later that night, as she adjusted his pillow, he spoke again. Stella, do you believe in secrets? I think everyone has one, she said. He nodded. Mine has been locked away for 28 years, but it's time. Time for what? To tell someone. to fix what I broke, to right a wrong. She looked at him closely. His hand reached out and gently tapped the table beside him. "There's a bag under this bed," he said. She bent down and pulled out a small black leather bag. "Open it." She opened the zipper. Inside was a brown envelope thick with papers. On top of the papers was a silver key. Next to it, an old photograph of a young woman holding a baby. Stella stared. "That's her," he said. "That's Mayim, the only woman I ever loved." She touched the photo carefully. "She's beautiful." "She was more than that," he said. "She was everything. But I left her. I left her because my family said she wasn't good enough, because she didn't come from money, because I was weak." He looked away. "I gave her a house far from the city. I thought it would keep her safe. I promised to return, but I never did." He looked back at Stella. His eyes were red. "She was carrying my child when I left." Stella gasped quietly. "You had a child with her?" He nodded. "A daughter?" Her heart beat faster. "What happened to them?" "I don't know," he said. "I've tried to find them. I've paid people. I've searched. Nothing. And now I'm dying." Stella was quiet. She didn't know what to say. Her mind was spinning. He pointed at the key. "That's the key to the house in Kuta village. That's where she stayed. I need you to go there." "Me?" "Yes, you." She held the key in her hand, confused. "Why me, sir?" "Because I trust you. Because you'll do it with clean hands. Not for money, not for name, but for truth." Stella sat down slowly. She stared at the photo again. "What if they're gone?" she asked. "Then at least I tried," he whispered. "At least I didn't take the secret to my grave." He closed his eyes. "I have so much, but I feel empty. I have cars, houses, land, but no peace. I want peace, Stella. I want to see her face again. Or my daughter's. Before I go," Stella looked at the photo once more, and in that moment, something inside her changed. She didn't know what she was stepping into. She didn't know who she would find or what she would discover, but she knew one thing. She couldn't say no. The photo was still in Stella's hand. The woman in it had a soft smile and gentle eyes. Her scarf was faded, her blouse plain, but something about her face looked kind. The baby in her arms was wrapped in a thin cloth, sleeping with its mouth slightly open. Stella stared at the picture for a long time. Al-Haji Idris was breathing heavily on the bed beside her. The silver key lay beside the envelope. The sun outside had gone down, and the room was now filled with a soft golden lamp glow. "You really wanted to go to Kuta?" Stella asked quietly. "Yes," he said. His voice was rough. "You must," she looked at him. "But sir, I'm a nurse." "I'm not. I mean, why not send someone from your family or a lawyer?" He turned his face slowly toward her. His eyes were glassy. "They'll ruin it." "Ruin what?" "The chance. The chance to fix what I broke. They don't understand love. They only understand land and cars. You've seen it, Stella. You saw it when Malik barged in here. Did he look like someone who wanted his father back, or someone who came to collect?" Stella stayed quiet. She remembered Malik's eyes, sharp and cold. The way he had looked at her, like she didn't belong. She had seen it. "You still haven't told me everything," Stella said softly. "What am I going there to do?" "Just find her." "Not just find her," he said. "Find out if she's still alive. If not, find my daughter. That child in the photo." Stella frowned. "But what if they've moved away?" "Then go to the house. Use the key. Everything is still there. Maybe letters. Maybe something she left behind. I told the caretaker to keep it clean. No one has touched it in years. Why didn't you go yourself?" He gave a weak, bitter laugh. "I couldn't. Pride, shame, and later sickness." He closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them again. "I thought I had time," Stella sighed. "I don't even know what to say to her, sir. What if she slams the door in my face? What if she hates you?" He nodded. "She has every right to, but I need to try." "Stella, I don't want to die without trying." Stella looked at the photo again. "You said you tried to find her before." She said. "Why didn't it work?" "I sent men," he said. "Cold men with money in their hands and lies in their mouths. She probably hid from them. I would have too. And this time you want to send me. You're the only one she would believe, he said, his voice cracking. You carry no pride, no threat, just truth. Stella stood up slowly. She walked across the room and looked out the window. The night had deepened. The city lights blinked in the distance like stars that had fallen too close. She turned back to him. And if I go and I find her, what should I tell her? Tell her I never stopped thinking about her, that I never stopped loving her, that I was a coward. Stella's heart tightened a little. He continued, and if she's gone, find my daughter. Tell her who she is. Tell her I was wrong, but I wanted her to know. He coughed, then a deep, painful cough that rattled through his chest. Stella rushed to his side and supported him. She adjusted the pillows, wiped his mouth, checked the oxygen level. You're not strong enough for all this talking, sir. He grabbed her wrist gently. Promise me, sir. Stella, promise me. She swallowed. I promise. He let go of her hand and leaned back. You'll need to leave soon, he said, before they start watching you. She blinked. Watching me? They're already suspicious, he whispered. They know something is going on. My sons, my cousin Yusuf, even a lawyer, they see you coming in and out of this room. They'll try to stop you. Why? Because if you find her and she brings proof, they lose everything. Stella felt a shiver run down her spine. She looked down at the envelope again. What's inside this? Papers, property documents, DNA test request, a handwritten letter. I was writing it before I collapsed. It's not finished, but it's all I have. Stella placed the envelope back into the bag. She zipped it up and stood still for a moment. Then she looked at him. I need a few days off. He nodded. I'll speak to the matron. No, she said, that will draw attention. I'll call in sick. He gave a faint smile. You're smarter than I thought. Stella walked to the cabinet and pulled out her phone. Her hands were shaking. I've never done anything like this, she said. This is not just about medicine. This is something else. I know, he said. She turned back to him. I'll go in the morning. First thing. He closed his eyes, and for the first time since she met him, a small tear rolled down his cheek. Thank you, Stella. But before she could reply, the door burst open. Malik stood there again. Behind him was another man in a gray suit. He held a small black folder in his hand. What's going on? Malik asked, stepping forward. Dad, why is she still here? What is she doing? Stella quickly placed the bag under the chair. She's my nurse, Al-Haji, Idris said, coughing. She's more than that. Obviously, Malik snapped. We've been waiting outside for over 30 minutes. I didn't ask you to wait, his father said. Malik stepped closer. This is ridiculous. I brought the lawyer. You need to sign the update on your will. I'm not signing anything today. Al-Haji, Idris said. You've been delaying this for weeks. I said no. Stella stood up. Maybe I should go. No, Al-Haji, Idris said. Yes, Malik said at the same time. The two men stared at each other. Then the man in the gray suit cleared his throat. Sir, we just need a few signatures for the hospital bills. We can leave the will for later. Al-Haji Idris looked at him. Give the papers to Stella. The lawyer blinked. Sir, give the papers to Stella. She'll check them first. Malik looked like he was about to explode. Dad, what's wrong with you? But the older man didn't even turn to him. I trust her more than I trust my own blood, he said. The lawyer, looking very uncomfortable, placed the folder on the table and slowly backed away. Malik stepped forward and slammed his palm on the table. This is madness. Stella kept her eyes on the floor. Al-Haji Idris turned to Malik. When I die, you'll get what you deserve. But don't try to cheat me while I'm still breathing. Malik's mouth opened, then closed. He turned around and walked out. The lawyer followed. The door slammed shut again. Silence. Stella reached for the folder and placed it in the drawer. She turned to him. What do they follow me? He looked at her, eyes serious. Don't use your real name when you get to Kuta. Don't talk to anyone about why you're there. Go straight to the address. Use the key. Lock the door behind you. Her heart was beating fast. Okay. He reached under his pillow and brought out a small plastic bag. Inside it was some cash and a folded paper. That's for transport. Use the details on the paper to find the caretaker. His name is Ojo. She took it. Then he lay back slowly. I'm tired. She covered him with the blanket. Rest, sir. Call me Idris, he whispered. She paused and nodded. Rest, Idris. As she walked out of the room with the bag, the photo, the envelope, and the key in her small purse. She had no idea her life was about to change forever. Stella didn't sleep that night. She sat on her narrow bed in the small flat she rented behind the hospital compound, staring at the brown envelope on the table. The photo of Mayim and the baby was next to it. Face up, the silver key lay beside the photo. Everything looked still, but her heart was loud. Outside, the city of Abuja was quiet, but inside her head, voices were shouting. Why are you doing this? What if it's a trap? What if they find out? What if the woman is already dead? What if the daughter doesn't even want to be found? She closed her eyes and remembered the man's face. Alhaji Idris, or just Idris now. His eyes had been clear, not like a man chasing money, but like a man trying to breathe before it was too late. He wasn't faking it. She could feel it. He was scared. He was sorry. And he wanted peace. So before dawn, Stella packed a small travel bag. Just 2 dresses, a notepad, a power bank, a scarf, and the most important things: the key, the photo, the envelope, and the address. She left a text to the matron saying she had a medical emergency at home and needed 2 days off. By 6:30 a.m., she was at Zuba Park. It was busy. Drivers shouting names of villages, passengers dragging bags, a baby crying in the corner, a woman frying puff puff under a red umbrella. Everything moved fast. She held the paper tight in her hand and looked for the line that said, Kuda, Madam, Kuda, this way. A conductor shouted, waving his hand. She followed. The bus was old. The windows were cracked. The seats were torn. But it didn't matter. Her mind was heavier than the heat inside the bus. She sat at the back and looked out the window. The engine started and they moved. The city faded slowly. Tall buildings turned to small houses. Roads turned to narrow paths. The bus bounced over potholes. Dust filled the air. She didn't speak to anyone. She didn't eat. She just kept thinking about what she would find in Kuda. For hours later, the driver shouted, Last stop. Stella stepped out. The sun hit her face. Her throat was dry. Her legs were stiff. Kuda village was quiet. No tread roads, just red soil and scattered houses made of mud bricks and zinc roofs. Chickens walked freely. 2 goats stood under a mango tree. Children played with tires. Women balanced buckets on their heads. She walked straight to the small canteen by the roadside and pulled out the paper. Ojo, she said to the old man, frying Acura. Do you know someone called Ojo? The man looked up slowly, eyes squinting. Ojo the carpenter or Ojo the caretaker? Caretaker. He pointed down a path. Second house after the well. The green one. She nodded. Thank you. As she walked, people looked at her. Her dress was too clean. Her shoes too modern. Her eyes too curious. She didn't belong. And they could tell. She reached the greenhouse and knocked gently. A man in his 60s opened the door. His face was tired, his hands rough. Yes. Are you Mr. Ojo? Who's asking? She opened her bag and showed him the photo. I came from Abuja. Chief Idris sent me. He stared at the photo. His face changed. You need to come inside, he said. She entered. The room was small but neat. A standing fan turned slowly in the corner. There was a calendar on the wall from 2017, and on a wooden table sat a Bible and a black radio. He sat down. You said Idris sent you. Yes, he's very sick. Ojo nodded slowly. I knew this day would come. You were the caretaker. I still am. I visit once every week. Sweep, clean the compound. No one lives there. She opened her bag and pulled out the key. He nodded again. That's the one. Can you take me there? He stood up. Now? Yes. He grabbed an old cap and stepped outside. They walked in silence, past farms, past a school with children shouting tables, past a church with broken glass. Finally, they reached the edge of the village. There, Behind a line of tall bushes was a quiet compound. The gate was rusty. The walls were faded cream. Ojo pulled out his own key and unlocked the gate. They stepped in. The grass had been cut. The path swept, but the air felt still like time had paused. Stella walked up the front door. Her fingers shook as she placed the silver key in the lock. Turned. She pushed the door open. A smell of dust and wood filled her nose. The living room was simple. A brown sofa, a table with crochet cloth, a curtain made of Ancora fabric. Everything looked untouched but clean, as if someone had just stepped out and never returned. Did she live here long? Stella asked. Miriam Ojo nodded. Yes, almost 3 years. And then she left one day. Just left. No goodbye. Stella walked slowly to the shelf near the wall. There were framed photos. Mayim holding the baby. Mayim sitting by a tree. Mayim smiling with someone cropped out of frame. She never came back. Never. Ojo said. Did anyone look for her? Some men came. Sharp suits from Abuja asking questions. She hid. After that, she packed and left. Stella sat down. Did she ever say where she was going? No. Stella pulled out the envelope and placed it on the table. She opened it and removed the handwritten letter. The words were shaky, some lines unfinished. She read it slowly. It said, "To the woman I never stopped loving, I made the biggest mistake of my life. When I walked away, they told me you were beneath me, but I see now I was the one beneath you. You gave me a daughter, and I gave you nothing back but silence. I want to fix that. Please forgive me, Idris." Her throat tightened. She folded the letter and placed it back. Is there anything she left behind? Ojo nodded. There's a room. She locked it before she left. I never opened it. Where is it? He led her to the end of the hallway. Plain wooden door. Stella brought out the key again and tried it. Clicked. The door opened. Inside, the air was thick. Dust danced in the sunlight. The bed was made. A small drawer stood beside it. On top of the drawer was a scarf, the same one from the photo. Stella stepped in. The walls had pictures drawn by a child. Flowers, the sun, a man holding a woman's hand. She opened the drawer. Inside were letters, dozens, all addressed to Idris Beer. None had been sent. She picked one. You left. I waited. I believed your words. But the days passed and our daughter asked every day, "Where's Daddy?" I couldn't answer. Stella's hands trembled. She opened another. Your men came today. They offered money, but not truth. I won't let them touch what's mine. I won't let them take my daughter. Stella blinked back tears. She turned to Ojo. She was angry, but she still loved him. He nodded. Yes. Stella looked around again. There in the corner was a wooden box. She opened it. Inside were baby clothes, a small pink shoe, a doll with one I'm missing, and under it all a birth certificate. She pulled it out. Her heart stopped. Name, Aisha Mayim Beer. Date of birth, July 12, 1994. Father, Idris Beer. Mother, Mayim Hassan. She covered her mouth. She's real, Stella whispered. She's alive. She has a name. Ojo looked over her shoulder. That's her. Yes. Stella stared at the paper. I need to find her. Ojo, that will be hard. Why? Because Kuda doesn't talk. People here mind their business. But maybe, what? There's someone who might know. Mama Uduak. She used to help Mary I am. If anyone saw where she went, it would be her. Where is she? 3 houses from the well. Ask for the one with the red goat. Stella grabbed the certificate, folded it gently, and placed it in her bag. Let's go. The sun was high now, burning hot over Kuda. The red earth shimmered as if it were alive. Stella walked beside Ojo, her bag pressed against her side, the folded birth certificate inside like a heartbeat. She tried not to look at the curious faces staring from doorways. Every step felt heavier than the last. Are you sure she'll talk to me? Stella asked quietly. Ojo adjusted his cap. Mama Uduak is old, but she remembers everything. If she liked Mayim, she might help you. If she doesn't, she'll close the door. Stella swallowed. I don't have much time. You'll need patience, Ojo said. This village moves slow. They turned down a narrow path lined with hibiscus bushes. Chickens scattered. A child ran past with a stick and a plastic wheel. Up ahead was a small compound with peeling white paint. A red goat tied to a tree chewed lazily at the grass. The smell of smoke drifted from a clay kitchen. That's her house, Ojo said. Stella stopped at the gate. Her heart was beating fast. Do I knock? She whispered. Yes, knock. She raised her hand and tapped on the wooden gate. No answer. She tapped again. This time, an old woman's voice came from inside. Who is it? It's someone looking for Mama Adak, Stella said softly. The gate creaked open. An old woman stepped out slowly, leaning on a carved walking stick. Her head was wrapped in a faded blue scarf. Her eyes were sharp like two small lanterns. I'm Mama Adak, she said. Who are you? I'm Stella. I came from Abuja. I'm looking for Mayim. The old woman's face froze. She looked at Stella from head to toe. That Ojo. What is this? I brought her, Ojo said quietly. She's from Idris. Mama Aduak's eyes narrowed. Idris Bekar. Stella nodded. He's very sick. He asked me to find Mayim. Mama Aduak's grip on her stick tightened. Too late, she said. Stella's stomach dropped. Too late. She's dead. The old woman turned and walked slowly back into the yard. Come inside, she said. Stella and Ojo followed her into a small sitting room. The walls were painted cream, but cracked in places. A wooden chair stood by the window. A sewing machine sat in the corner. Mama Duak sat down heavily. Close the door, she said. Stella closed it. The old woman stared at her for a long time. So Idris finally remembered her. Stella nodded. He never forgot her. Mama Aduak gave a dry laugh. He forgot her every day he didn't come. He said he was ashamed. Stella said softly. He said he was weak. The old woman shook her head. That man destroyed her. Stella sat on the edge of a stool. Please tell me what happened. Mama Aduak looked at her hands. Mayim came here when she was still young. She was beautiful, smart. She could have married anyone in this village. But she fell for Idris. He was already rich then. He promised her the world. He gave her a house. He gave her a baby. Then he left. Stella's throat tightened. He said he planned to return. He didn't, the old woman said flatly. Men from the city came. They brought papers. They brought lies. She was alone. She had to hide. Did she ever speak badly about him? She cried for him. Mama Uduak said, her voice softening. She prayed for him even when she was angry. She prayed. She said he was lost. Stella blinked back tears. And then she raised a child. Mama Aduak continued. She called her Aisha, a bright girl. But Aisha was always asking about her father. Mayim didn't know what to say. The girl started to hate the name Bekar. Stella reached into her bag and pulled out the birth certificate. I found this in the house. Mama Udak glanced at it and nodded slowly. That's hers. Where is she now? Stella asked. Where's Aisha? Mama Udak's eyes narrowed again. Why? Because Idris is dying. Stella said he wants to see her. He wants to tell her the truth. The old woman's lips pressed together. Truth. That word. Too late for truth. It's not too late, Stella said. He's still alive. Mama Aduak leaned forward. And you think Aisha will forgive him after all these years? After all the lies? She's not a child anymore. She's a woman, and she's angry. Even angry people deserve to know who they are, Stella said quietly. The old woman stared at her for a long time. You're not like the others, she said finally. You're not a lawyer or a spy. You're not here for money. I'm not, Stella said. I'm just a nurse. He trusted me. Mama, Uduide. Aisha lives in the next town now. She works at a small clinic. She doesn't use Bekar as her name. She calls herself Aisha Hassan. She never speaks about him. Stella's heart jumped. Do you have her address? I do, Mama Uda said slowly. But if I give it to you, what will you do? I'll go to her, Stella said. I'll tell her everything. I'll bring her to him. Mama Dak's eyes were sad. And if she refuses, then at least she will know, Stella said. The old woman looked at Ojo, then back at Stella. Finally, she reached under her wrapper and pulled out a small piece of paper. She placed it on the table. That's where she works, she said. Don't tell her I sent you. I won't, Stella said. Mama Dak leaned back. Be careful. She's strong. She doesn't trust easily. And if Idred's family finds out what you're doing, I'll be careful, Stella said. Thank you. The old woman nodded. I love Mary I am like a daughter. When you see Aisha, tell her that. Tell her Mama. Dak still prays for her. I will, Stella said. She folded the paper and placed it in her bag. As she stood up, Mama Dak grabbed her wrist. One more thing, don't go at night. Leave at first light, and don't tell anyone where you're going. I understand, Stella said. The old woman let go. Outside, the sky had begun to turn orange. The red goat bleated softly. Ojo walked ahead in silence. Stella followed, her mind spinning. When they reached the main road, Ojo stopped. You found what you came for? I think so, Stella said. You're gonna find the daughter? Yes. Ojo looked at her carefully. This road you're walking, it's not safe. I don't care. Stella said, it's not about me. He gave a small nod. Then, may God guide you. He turned and walked away down another path. Stella stood alone, holding her bag. The village felt different now, not just quiet, watchful. She could feel eyes on her from behind windows. Maybe it was just her imagination. Or maybe Malik's men were already here. She walked quickly back to the compound where Mayim once lived. She shut the door behind her and sat on the bed in the locked room. She unfolded a piece of paper from Mama Dak. It had a name and a clinic address scribbled in shaky handwriting. She stared at it. Aisha Hassan. She whispered the name softly. Then she took out her phone and tried to call Idris. No answer. She tried again. Still no answer. Her chest tightened. Was he worse? Was someone stopping him from picking up? She put the phone down and covered her face with her hands. She felt the weight of everything pressing down on her. She thought about her mother, about the promise she made to help people. And now here she was in a stranger's room, holding another stranger's life in her hands. She stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the sky was deep purple now. A few stars had appeared. I'll find you, she whispered. I'll find you, Aisha, even if it's the last thing I do. She closed the curtain and turned back to the bed. She sat down again, the birth certificate and the address on the table, the key in her hand. Tomorrow she would leave Kuta. Tomorrow she would step into a storm she couldn't yet see. But tonight she would gather her strength because the road ahead would be harder than anything she had faced before. The next morning came with no rooster crowing, just the sound of Stella's phone vibrating under her pillow. She sat up quickly. A text. It was from one of the junior nurses at the hospital. Where are you? Chief's condition got worse last night. Matron is panicking. Nobody's allowed inside his room anymore. Stella's heart dropped. She held the phone tightly and read the message again. Worse. She quickly typed back. Is he still alive? A reply came a moment later. Yes, but sedated. Malik has taken control. He's blocking visitors. Even Matron said it's to protect his father. Stella's fingers froze. She looked at the brown envelope on the table, then at the small note with Aisha Hassan's clinic address. Time was running out. She threw on her dress, tied her scarf, packed her things, and locked the house behind her. She stopped only to thank Ojo again, leaving a simple note for him under the gate. Thank you. Pray for me. By 9 a.m., she was on a motorbike heading to the next town. The wind slapped her face. Dust got into her eyes, but she didn't blink. She held the bag tightly with both arms. At the town's edge, the rider stopped. This is the clinic, he said. It was a small building painted white with blue letters over the entrance. Grace and Mercy Medical Center. It didn't look fancy, just honest. Stella paid the rider and stepped inside. The waiting area had only 3 plastic chairs. A mother rocked a baby on one. A young boy sat on the floor, with a bandaged leg. A woman in a nurse uniform looked up from the desk. "Good morning. How can I help you?" Stella cleared her throat. "I'm looking for Nurse Aisha Hassan." The woman blinked. "Why?" "I need to speak with her. It's very personal. She's attending to a patient. Please wait." Stella sat down. Her palms were sweating. What if Aisha didn't believe her? What if she got angry? What if she refused to come? Minutes passed. Then the door behind the desk opened, and there she was. Nurse Aisha. The same eyes as Mayim, the same gentle mouth, but stronger now, older, more guarded. She looked at Stella carefully. "You asked for me." "Yes." Stella stood up. "Can we talk?" Asa frowned. "Who are you?" "My name is Stella Jattle. I'm a nurse too from Abuja." Aisha folded her arms. "And I came to speak to you about your father." Aisha's face didn't change. "I don't have a father." "You do?" Stella said softly. "His name is Idris Becker." A long silence filled the room. Aisha turned to the other nurse. "Take over the front." Then she walked into the side room without saying another word. Stella followed. Inside the room was small. A desk, 2 chairs, a shelf of medicines, a small fan humming in the corner. Aisha Saturday talked quickly. Stella sat across from her. She pulled out the envelope, opened it, laid the birth certificate on the table, then the photo of Miriam holding baby Aisha. "I came to Kuta," Stella said. "I went to the house your mother lived in. I met Mama Dak. I found this." Aisha stared at the photo. She didn't speak. "He's dying," Stella said. "Your father, he's very sick. He sent me to find your mother, but she's dead." Aisha said quietly. 6 years now." Stella nodded. "I'm sorry." Aisha's fingers touched the photo, then pulled away. "He sent people before," she said, "men in suits talking nonsense. I told them I didn't want his money. I'm not here for money." Stella said, "He didn't send money this time. He sent me." Aisha looked at her. "Why?" "Because I'm a nurse and I stayed with him when no one else would. He told me about you. He regrets everything." "Too late." Stella nodded slowly. "Maybe, but he still wants to see you." Aisha leaned back. "You know how many nights I watched my mother cry? You know how many lies she had to cover just so I wouldn't hate myself for being born?" "I don't know," Stella said, "but I know he wants to make it right." Aisha stood up, pacing now. "I built this clinic from nothing," she said. "I used to beg in the market just to buy pen and paper. I cleaned toilets to pay for nursing school. My mother didn't live to see me wear the uniform. She died with nothing, and now he wants a hug." "No," Stella said calmly. "He doesn't expect a hug. He just wants a chance to look you in the eye, to say sorry with his own mouth. If that's all you let him do, that's enough." Aisha turned. Her eyes were glassy now. "You don't know how long I waited for him to show up. On my birthday, on graduation, when Mama was buried. He didn't come." "I know," Stella said, "but now you have the power. You get to face him. Not as a little girl waiting for love, but as a woman with a name, a life, and the truth." Aisha sat down again. "What if I go and I feel nothing?" "Then that's okay." They sat in silence. Then Aisha whispered, "If I go, we go quietly." "Yes, no news, no photos, of course." Aisha looked down at the photo again. She nodded once. "Let me pack a bag." The journey back to Abuja was quiet. Aisha didn't speak much. She held the photo in her lap the entire time. Once or twice, she asked questions about Idris's health, about what he looked like now, about whether he remembered her birthday. Stella answered what she could. The rest, she said, ask him. When they arrived at Supreme Life Hospital, it was almost evening. Stella wore a scarf low over her face. Aisha wore a black hoodie. They walked past the front desk, past the nurses who now gave Stella long, suspicious looks, past Matronoji, who raised her brows but said nothing. When they reached the ICU wing, 2 bodyguards stood at the entrance. "We're here to see Chief Idris," Stella said. The guards shook their heads. "No one's allowed in." Stella brought out her badge. "I'm his nurse." One of the guards made a call, nodded. "Only you," he said. "Not her. I don't go in." "She doesn't go in," Stella said. Orders are orders. Just then, a loud voice echoed behind them. What is this? It was Malik. His tie was loose, his face sharp with anger. What are you doing here? He snapped at Stella. Didn't I tell you to stay away? You don't give orders here? Stella said calmly. I'm his son. I'm his nurse. Malik stepped forward. Who's this? He pointed at Aisha. No one you need to worry about. Are you bringing strangers to his bedside? She's not a stranger. Malik looked closer. Wait, is this the woman from the village? Aisha raised her head. Malik froze. What game is this? He hissed. No game, Aisha said softly. I'm Aisha Mariam Beer. Silence. The guards looked confused. Malik stepped back. This is madness. Stella stepped in front of Aisha. Move now. Malik's mouth opened, but he saw something in Aisha's eyes that made him stop. He stepped aside. They walked in. Idris was lying on the bed, pale and still. His oxygen mask covered half his face. Stella walked to his side. Idris, she said gently. I brought her. His eyes opened slowly. They moved from Stella to Aisha. They stopped there. They did not move again. Tears filled his eyes instantly. His hand lifted shakily. Aisha didn't move. He reached further and then whispered, Mariam. Aisha's lips trembled. I'm not Mayim. I know, he said, but your eyes. She took a step forward. He reached again. This time she held his hand. I'm sorry, he whispered. I was afraid. I was a coward. Aisha didn't cry. She looked him in the eye and said, I wanted you to come all my life. I should have, he said. He coughed. His whole body shook. Stella checked his pulse. It was weak. I'm here now, he said. Let me look at you one last time. Aisha sat beside him. He touched her hair with shaking fingers. You look just like her. Stella stepped back quietly. Outside, voices were rising. Malik shouting. A nurse trying to calm him. But inside the room, the past was standing still. A father, a daughter, a broken promise, a small healing. I can rest now, he whispered. Aisha held his hand tighter. Then rest, she said. But just as peace was falling, the door burst open. A reporter ran in with a phone camera. A security guard chased behind. Is it true? The reporter shouted. Is this the secret daughter of Chief Becker? Aisha jumped up. Stella blocked the camera. Get out! More voices outside. More flashing lights. The news had leaked. The secret was no longer secret. And the storm had finally come. The camera light was still blinking. The reporter kept shouting questions. Is it true you're Chief Idris's daughter? How long has he known? Was she hidden from the will? Did the old man confess something before dying? Security guards stormed in, grabbing the man and dragging him out. But it was too late. The hallway outside was full now. Other reporters had gathered like bees. Someone had tipped them off. Maybe Malik, maybe someone else. But the secret was no longer secret. The news was out. Aisha stood frozen by the hospital bed, her face pale, her hands still shaking. Stella quickly pulled the curtains shut and locked the door from inside. Idris was struggling to breathe again. His eyes rolled, his chest rising and falling in shallow bursts. Idris, Stella called, rushing to his side. Can you hear me? He nodded faintly, his lips dry. Don't talk, she said. Save your strength. But he was already whispering something. She leaned in. I wrote it, he said, in the red folder drawer. What folder? He pointed weakly to the bedside cabinet. Aisha opened it. Inside was a red plastic folder, sealed with rubber band. Aisha handed it to Stella. She opened it fast. Inside were handwritten pages, each labeled with final draft. A sticky note on top read to my lawyer only after she comes. Stella looked up. He meant you. Aisha stared at the papers. He changed it. Stella said he changed his will. Idris tried to smile, but his face twisted in pain instead. His chest began to jerk. The beeping on the heart monitor grew faster. No, no, no. Stella panicked. Stay with us. Aisha grabbed his hand again. I'm here, she whispered. I forgive you. His breathing slowed. One more deep breath, then stillness. Stella placed 2 fingers on his neck. No pulse. She looked up at Aisha. Her eyes were wet now, but steady. He's gone. Aisha closed her eyes slowly. Outside, someone banged on the door. Open up. It was Malik. Stella tucked the red folder under her arm and opened the door slightly. Malik pushed past her. He looked at the body on the bed, then at Aisha. So, this is what it was all about. Don't start, Stella warned. He turned to her. You brought her here to destroy everything. She's his daughter. Stella said firmly. You can't erase that. Malik laughed coldly. Well, see about that. His lawyer will deal with this mess. He turned to leave, but paused. And don't think this is over. You're just a nurse. You don't know the world you're playing in. He slammed the door behind him. Stella exhaled. He's gonna fight this. Aisha sat on the edge of the bed, her hand still on her father's arm. Let him. The funeral was fast. It had to be. News had spread like fire. Every blog, every paper, every TV station. Billionaire Chief Idris Beard dies peacefully after last-minute family reunion. Shocking revelation. Secret daughter arrives hours before death. Well, war begins. Bicare faces new challenge. Malik hired his own press team. He released a statement claiming the woman who visited was an imposter, that she had been planted, that she had no legal right to anything. But photos from the hospital had already leaked. Aisha's face was everywhere. Some said she was after money. Others called her the true heir. But Aisha herself said nothing. Not one interview. Not one word to press. She stayed with Stella quietly in her flat near the hospital. I don't want the world, she told Stella. I just want to see his face. And now that you have, Stella asked, I feel lighter. 2 weeks passed. The lawyers moved quickly. The red folder was validated. The signature was real. The final draft of the will listed Aisha as his first biological child. She was entitled to 45% of the estate. Malik and the other sons would share the rest. Chaos followed. Protests, court letters, accusations. Malik called for a DNA test. It matched. He called for a second test. Same result, then silence. He vanished in the news for days, until one morning, Aisha received a knock on Stella's door. It was Malik. He didn't come with cameras, just him in jeans, eyes tired, face rough. I came to talk, he said. Aisha stepped outside. Why now? I was angry. You still are. Yes, he said, but I'm not stupid. She waited. He looked at her. She looks like you, he said quietly. The woman in the old photos. That was your mother. Yes. Malik nodded. My mother hated her. I know. She used to say, your father had a weak moment with a poor girl. That's all. Asa didn't reply. I didn't believe it. He said, but I was a child. I didn't know I had a sister. She folded her arms. And now I still don't know what to do with you. He said honestly, but you were there at the end. I wasn't. Silence stretched. Then he stepped back. The lawyer says we'll need to meet. Go over some things. I'm not fighting anymore. Just don't sell the house. The one in Mama. It was his favorite. Aisha gave a small nod. Okay. He walked away slowly. A month later, the will was settled. The public lost interest. The cameras stopped coming. Aisha used part of her inheritance to expand her clinic. She built a new wing, bought more beds, hired staff, put up a small photo of Mayim and Idris in the reception. She didn't change her name, didn't buy a mansion. She stayed in the same flat, but she smiled more. She laughed sometimes. She finally knew where she came from, and she forgave the man who left. One night, Stella sat on her balcony holding a mug of tea. Aisha came out and sat beside her. You never told me why you helped him, Aisha said. Stella sipped her tea. Because I saw something in his eyes, she said. Regret and fear and hope. I've seen many people die, Aisha, but not many try to fix their soul before going. Aisha nodded. You're a good person. So, are you? I couldn't have done it without you. Yes, you could have. They smiled. Then Aisha stood up. I'm going to bed. Stella nodded. Good night. Be a care. Aisha laughed softly. Don't call me that. and walked inside. The next morning, Stella received a package. It had no name, no return address, just a black envelope and a sealed letter. She opened it. It was handwritten to Stella, the woman who gave me peace. Her eyes widened. It was from Idris. She sat down and began to read. I knew I might not live long enough to say goodbye, but if you're reading this, then it means you fulfilled your promise. You brought her home. You did what no lawyer, no son, no friend could do. You saw me not as a name, but as a man, and you stayed. This world needs more hearts like yours. I didn't have much left to give, but I left something for you. Not money, not land. A small piece of land near Locoa, quiet by the river. You'll find peace there, just like I did with you. Thank you, Stella. I can rest now. Tears rolled down her face. She didn't wipe them. She just folded the letter gently and held it close. Because even though Idris was gone, his last wish had been fulfilled. And somehow, through all the pain, something beautiful had been born. Stella sat on the balcony for a long time after reading the letter. The sun had not yet risen. The street below was still dark and quiet, with only the sound of crickets in the bushes and the far-off hum of an early bus engine. Her fingers ran over the paper again and again. She had read it 5 times, and each time felt heavier than the last. The land was real. She checked the folded map tucked inside the envelope. It showed a small plot by the riverside in Lokia, tucked far from the city noise. She had never owned anything before, not even a bicycle. But now she owned land, not just land. Land given with meaning. A thank you from a man who had nothing left but his truth. When the sun finally rose, she went inside, changed into her nurse scrubs, and walked out the door like she did every morning. But this time, her heart felt full. It wasn't money that filled it or power. It was something more quiet, more peaceful. She had done something good, and it mattered. At the hospital, everything had returned to routine. Chief Idris's name was no longer on the whiteboard. His file had been locked and archived. His room had been cleaned and assigned to a new patient. Staff whispered less now. The noise had passed. Only Stella carried his memory like a soft tune in the back of her mind. Later that day, Matrono called her into the office. "You have a visitor," she said. "Who?" "The lawyer." Stella stepped into the small meeting room. There, waiting by the window, was Mr. Bankel, the same man who had stood beside Malik the day everything fell apart. He turned and gave a small nod. "Nurse Stella." She nodded back. He handed her a sealed brown envelope. "This is from the state, not for legal issues, just something Idris added in his final days." Stella opened it slowly. Inside was a document. Her name was typed at the top. Stella Jaddle. It was a letter of recommendation addressed to the Abuja State Medical Board, signed in Chief Idris's name, recommending Stella for any higher training, hospital promotion, or leadership role of her choosing. Attached was a check modest but real enough to pay off her debts, enough to start something new. "I thought he gave everything to his children," she said quietly. Mr. Bankel smiled. "He gave his name to his children, but he gave his peace to you." Stella looked down at the paper. She folded it, placed it back in the envelope, and nodded. "Thank you." The lawyer paused at the door. "You know, most people forget nurses, but he didn't." Stella smiled gently. He couldn't. 2 weeks later, Stella stood at the edge of the river in Loya, staring at the piece of land Idris had left her. It wasn't large, just a flat space with grass, a few trees, and a view of the calm water stretching into the horizon. She took off her shoes and stepped barefoot onto the soil. It was quiet, peaceful, a place where silence didn't feel empty. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. The wind carried the scent of fresh earth and distant flowers. She imagined a small house here, a wooden chair on a porch, a breeze, a place where tired hearts could rest. When she opened her eyes, Aisha was standing beside her, holding 2 plastic bags. "You came," Stella said. "Of course I came." Aisha smiled. "You think I'd miss seeing the famous nurse's new kingdom?" Stella laughed. "It's just dirt and air for now." "But it's yours," Aisha said. "You earned it." They sat under the biggest tree, opened the bags, and began to eat jell-off rice from plastic containers. "Do you miss him?" Stella asked after a while. Aisha was quiet. Then she said, "Sometimes I forget he's gone. I still expect him to call, or knock, or show up again like it never happened. You loved him. I think I love what he could have been, not who he was." Stella nodded slowly. "That makes sense. But when I touched his hand that day," Aisha continued, "I saw fear in his eyes, not fear of death, fear of regret. It made me feel human. It made him human, too." They sat in silence, chewing slowly. A bird chirped in the branches above. Stella wiped her hand on a napkin. "What will you do with your inheritance?" "I already did it," Aisha said. "Built the children's ward at the clinic. Gave some to Mama at Duac. Set up a scholarship in my mother's name." Stella smiled. "You're amazing." Aisha shrugged. "I didn't do it for anyone to clap. I just wanted the story to end right." "And did it?" Aisha looked at the river. "I think it did." They finished eating and sat back, heads resting against a tree bark. "I'm leaving the hospital soon," Stella said softly. Aisha turned. "What?" "I want to build something here. Maybe a small healing center. Somewhere people can rest, recover, not just their bodies, but their hearts, too." Aisha's eyes lit up. "Like a retreat." Stella nodded. "Simple, quiet, true. I'll help you." Aisha said, "You don't have to." "I want to." They looked at each other and smiled. Two women, different stories, same purpose, same peace. Back in Abuja, Malik Bekir sat alone in his father's old study. The room was untouched, books still on the shelves, pens still in the drawer. He opened the drawer and found a dusty cassette player. He turned it on. A soft voice played. It was his father recording a message. "Malik, if you ever find this, I hope you understand. I made choices that built towers but left cracks in the ground. I hope you build differently, not higher but better." Malik paused the tape. He looked around the room, and for the first time, he felt something new. Not anger, not shame, but understanding. 3 months later, Stella stood in front of a new signboard. Idris Peace Haven Healing and Rest Center. Aisha stood beside her holding a bottle of cold malt. They had painted the center themselves. Built it with locals, made it soft and warm. Inside were clean beds, simple food, quiet corners, books, smiles, no noise, no judgment, just peace. People came from far and near. Burnout workers, sick old women, broken young men, widows, runaways, lost souls. And they found something there. Not magic, just love. And one day, a boy came. He was no older than 8. Skinny, dirty, silent. Stella took his hand. "What's your name?" He held out a crumpled piece of paper. It read, "I heard this is where hearts get fixed." She smiled. "You heard right." She led him inside. And as the door closed behind them, the breeze carried laughter into the trees because the last wish had been fulfilled and a new story had just begun.